Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, the Yankees continue to take care of business at home, win the second game of the ALCS by the score of 6-3. Get a little bit closer than the first game there. Maybe had to sweat a little bit there in the fourth or fifth inning there with Cole on the ropes a little bit, but the Yankee ultimately able to fend off the Cleveland offense and then add a few runs there to come almost in a way kind of maybe after the sixth inning make this game a bit of a laugher, but nevertheless, more supposedly Yankees taking now a 2-0 lead in this ALCS. We'll dive into the game, all the key points, the highlights, the lowlights for the Yankees. Kind of a weird game. I mean, they did some good things, but also some really sloppy and bad things in this game, but we'll point that all out. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And we got the rest of the series to go along. Very good chance the Yankees move on. And then, of course, we got a lot of more baseball coverage into the World Series, pending if the Yankees get there, which I think they will. And, of course, we have a whole off-season and everything else before that, so make sure you subscribe to this podcast and also go to the YouTube channel, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So the Yankees took care of business in the first game there. Kind of a pretty routine Yankee win. Again, a game where it was more sloppy Cleveland pitching more than great Yankee hitting, but nevertheless, the Yankees were able to get himself a comfortable lead there in the first game. And even when Cleveland put a couple of runs on there, the Yankees were able to tack on more with a Stanton home run there. And of course, the Yankee bullpen, especially with Weaver now, just becoming like an elite closer, elite pitcher now in the postseason, really coming on the scene there. Able to snuff out any fire there. Now you move over the game two. You look at Garrett Cole after a strong start in the last game against the Royals in the divisional series, going against Trevor Beebe there, who's a 12-8 record, 2.47 ERA, got the long hair there, look at Syndergaard, and you don't know what you're really going to expect in this game. Is this guy going to come out and blaze for seventh inning like that? No. Nonetheless, turned out to be one of those games where Cleveland would have to go to the bullpen very early there. And that's really the theme you're seeing with these first two games there, with Cleveland having to go to their bullpen very early in the game there. And that's just a bad indicator. Look, we don't know what they have lined up for games 3, 4, and 5 yet. But the fact in these first two games that they have to go right to the bullpen right away there, it's just a bad sign of a bad team. The number 2 seeded team in the American League there, 90-plus wins. But it's just not a good sign when you have to go to the bullpen that early, 2 games in a row. So it just shows a major weakness, which is, again, why I feel very confident in the Yankees winning this series against Cleveland and moving on into the World Series. Now, it's very important for the Yankees to win the first 2 games there, because now after this, they get a day off, fine, great, rest up a little bit. But the next 3 games in a row there, you're going in Cleveland there, and if you look at the Yankee rotation, the way they set this up at the start of the series, obviously we know Rodon game 1 pitched fabulously. Garrett Cole, not as good in game 2, but at least he bent, but he didn't break, and we'll get into that a little bit after. But now you look at starting off, this series on the road there. You have Clark Schmidt for game 3 and Luis Gil for game 4. Now look, it's hard to expect much out of them. Now, look, Schmidt pitched very well in that Royals game. I know, ultimately he couldn't make it out of the 5th inning. Wasn't all his fault there. But again, it's like his second start in a postseason game like that. You're not too sure what to expect. And then, of course, you look at Luis Gil, who's been on the shelf now for a couple of weeks, hasn't pitched any live action in an actual game there. So it's really hard what to expect out of this guy in game 4. Okay, he had a good season for the Yankees. I know kind of, you're throwing up there a little bit of a rookie of the year. And at least the first 2 months, you may be talking about a Cy Young award. So, yes, he had a good season for himself. That's all true. But, this guy, again, has been on the shelf for a couple of weeks there, and you're throwing him right into the Lions den for a game 4 there. So it's hard what to expect out of those 2 guys there. So for the fact for the Yankees, you at least get those first 2 wins and lock those down, very important to get, because if the Yankees win maybe 1 out of the 3 games there in Cleveland and come back to the Bronx, you'll like your chances very much, just based off what you saw these first 2 games. If this does come back to the Yankees needing to win a game 6 or a game 7 there, you feel very confident in that. And look, the fact that they take down the first 2 games there, you have 5 games left in this series. All the Yankees have to do is win 2 more. Just based on everything you've seen so far, very highly likely the Yankees would be able to achieve that. So that's what you like to see, so far in the situation. But as for this game, game 2 there, it was almost a continuation of the first game. I mean, you have Garrett Cole there, a starter who you feel very confident. Obviously, you feel more confident in Cole than you did with Rodon there. And the Yankees are able to stake him to a pretty early 3-0 lead there. A little sloppy defense by Cleveland. In addition to that, Verdugo Probably his second biggest hit in this postseason there. An opposite field shot to put the Yankees ahead by a score of 2-0. And then Judge a little bit later on after that, even though at this point hasn't done anything, major in the postseason in terms of a home run, able to hit a sacrifice fly to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead there. And with Aaron Judge, you've seen a slow progression. Again, each of his swings, and I kind of mentioned this on the broadcast, the TBS broadcast with Ron Darling, that each of his swings have been getting a little bit better and better, which you figure at some point he's going to break through, and he would finally break through later in this game, but we'll get into that in a moment. But of course, Garrett Cole, who wasn't sharp, the velocity was there. He didn't get a hit as hard as he did in that first game one against the Royals there, but he did surrender a couple of singles here and there. Again, he wasn't getting rocked. He just wasn't on. He was just off a little bit of a tick. So he saw a couple of hits. He saw a couple of walks. Now, he survived the third inning. He survived the fourth inning. Actually had bases loaded situation where he got a called third strike over Rizzo to get it out of that situation there. But then finally they kind of got to him a little bit in the fifth inning. Now, some of it was his own fault with a hit and a walk there, but there was also a bit of a dribbler between Chaz and Volpe there and the shortstop hole there. So a little misdirection of who's going to go get the ball there. I don't know if it would have made a play, but more or less at a certain point that it got to a point where you had a bases loaded situation with the Naylor coming up, who, again, with one swing there, could turn that game from 3-0 Yankee lead to a 4-3 Cleveland lead. So you got to be very careful there. But Naylor with a sky-high sacrifice fly to right field there. So at least keeps them in the ballpark. Okay, they score one run there to cut the lead to 3-1. And, of course, Boone at that point has to yank Cole out of the game and goes to his new kind of jack-of-all-trades guy, which is Clay Holmes. Again, has been fabulous so far all throughout the playoffs, wherever Boone needed him, whether it's the 8th inning, 7th inning, or in this case, going to him very early to put out a major fire in the 5th inning there. Gets the ground out to the pinch hitter Brennan there. Unfortunately, at that point, a runner at third there was able to score, so cuts the lead to 3-2. But then Holmes able to get a strikeout to get out of the jam, and that was really the end of the Cleveland threat. Pressuring the 4th inning, pressuring the 5th inning. Got a couple of runners in, but could not get that big hit, and that was really the last of it. Now, to me, this is where the Yankee game was won. Now, people are going to look to like the Aaron Judge home run late in this game, where that put it away, but no, this was it. Now, the Yankees have Sombrowski on the mound for Cleveland, the left-hander there. Now, with Jazz up, again, lefty on lefty situation. Jazz, had a count of 3-1 there, and then you see him keep. He stepped out of the batter's box. He was squinting his eyes. He's trying to clear his eyes. Apparently, guess from the cold there, this was kind of getting to him a little bit, with making his eyes teared up. And I guess maybe he's not really too, used to the cold and like playing the cold. He kind of had the whole full like helmet / hoodie. I don't know what you call that thing, turtleneck, thing on there, under there, just try to keep himself warm there. Looked like he was batting a little water in his eyes, but nevertheless, instead of uppercutting the swing, which he's been doing a lot of, and again, not hitting really much in this postseason there, finding a level of swing out there where he was able to get a line drive to left field there, finally getting on base, a nice clean hit there after that. Then Volpe comes up, works himself a walk, so now you have man on first and second base. Nobody out with Rizzo up. Now it's a lefty on situation. Now you can figure, well, is Boone going to go to the bench a little bit? Would you want to pinch hit maybe someone like a John Birdie or something like that who can also play defense? But no, sticks with Rizzo there at that. But of course, unfortunately with Jazz, I guess he was dancing off the plate a little too much. Where they possibly try to do a double steal, which you can kind of understand, where you put runners on second, third with one out, but then all you got Rizzo has to do is hit a sacrifice fly to get the next run in. But unfortunately, Jazz kind of caught out there. Sombrowski able to pick him off second base spare. They go to replay. I didn't think it was a close to challenge yet, but at that point, I guess maybe Boone figured, you know what, is this worth throwing the challenge in there? Because if any way possible, we could still get him on there. You love that situation, man on first or second, nobody out there. But unfortunately, they did not overturn it, so Jazz called out. But Rizzo, and this was, to me, this was probably the most important part of this game. Rizzo saved Jazz's bacon there, because if something happened where they didn't score any runs in this inning and the score was still 3-2 and somehow Cleveland came back and actually ended up winning this game, you would have looked at that moment and Jazz would have been the biggest GOAT ever. He would have got killed, crucified for that situation. But Rizzo saved the bacon by, after that, hitting a sharp double to right field there that kicked around a little bit in the right field and Volpe, again, as a speedster, even from first base, able to score from first base there to give the Yankees the 4-2 lead there, a little extra cushion, which at that point, again, you were kind of nervous a little bit at 3-2 there. Figure, maybe this Yankee bullpen finally falters a little bit, like a little crack on the seams there. But again, the bullpen was able to put out the fire in the 5th inning there. That Rizzo RBI double was crucial to give the Yankees a 4-2 lead there. And, to me, that's really where the game was won. I know people are going to look to the Judge home run afterwards, that kind of sealed the deal, okay. But Rizzo coming up huge there. And really, you look at these last 2 games, the balls he hit in the first game against Cobb there, really hit hard here, and again, some good hard hits there in this game too. And I don't know what it is, I can't explain it. But with these fractured fingers, maybe because it's the padding he's have, maybe he's holding the bat differently. But his swings in these last 2 games have been better than the entire season so far. Again, he's had a really below mediocre, terrible season. Again, he had the fractured arm where you figure, all right, he's done for the year. He comes back from that. He's in there a little bit, doesn't give you much there. Then fractures the fingers, and it's like, just sit the guy down. I don't want to see this guy for the rest of October. He's hurt. He's old. It's a blah, blah, blah. But, give Boone credit. Adds him to this roster. And, again, of course, you just feel more confident there at first base there, just fielding balls. But, again, he's been hitting the ball better as he has the whole season, these last 2 games here in the postseason. So, can't explain that. But that double to score right after Jazz gets picked off second there, I think it was just so big in so many reasons there. Again, saved Jazz's bacon, gave the Yankees a 4-2 lead. And at that point, you figure, no matter what happens, the Yankees are going to win this game. And that's where you felt it. Now, after that, finally Judge comes up with a runner on and then hits a 2-run home run to center field, a little to the right there. But a nice shot into the autumn night in the Bronx. Really sealed the deal for the Yankees at that point. 6-2, gets himself off the schneid. Of course, it's his first home run of the postseason, which we've been waiting for. I'm sure he's been under pressure. He's been feeling it. He's been hitting all this stuff like that. And just gets that off the schneid there. And again, as they mentioned a little early in the game there, his swings were getting a little bit better and better. Just you see him, on the replays, just missing by a nick there, And I guess over a 95-mile-per-hour fastball that was kind of high and away, able to square it up enough to get it over the center field wall of the Yankees Stadium. And at the point, 6-2, you figure, all right, this game's done. That's it. Now, a little interesting later in the game there was a situation where the Yankees were threatening to score a little bit more in the bottom of the 8th inning. They warmed up, Weaver and they were warming up Ian Hamilton, where, look, if the Yankees scored a couple more runs, then at that point, obviously, it's not a safe situation anymore. I know you want to bring out the closer just to close it. I get that. But if the Yankees are ahead by like 5 or 6 runs, then you don't want to put your closer out there. Weaver's been great. He's been phenomenal. He's been elite. Also, you want to give him some days off. So the fact that you have a game off between games 2 and 3, if you're not having pitched tonight and he doesn't have to pitch tomorrow, obviously with an off day, you want to load up those bullets for game 3, which makes sense there. But nevertheless, the Yankees don't score. I can understand why you just want to go for the juggling and bring out Weaver there. Fine, it worked and you won the game. But also at that point too, Weaver's worked a lot. And do you want to keep letting these guys see Weaver so many times? And at a certain point, they might pick up things. It might get to him. The Yankees, I think, should have maybe brought up Hamilton instead. I know he hasn't pitched, so far yet in this series. Pitched a little bit in Game 2. And that was the Rodon loss against the Royals there. But again, it gets him some work there. It gives Weaver a night off. And you don't want to keep showing Weaver every single night there where some of these other hitters might pick up something. And then when you have a crucial point, 6th inning there with a runner on and maybe blows the game because you're exposing him too much. So I thought the Yankees maybe should put Hamilton out there. At that point, you're leading the score 6-2 there. So even if Hamilton isn't the greatest, you could probably still manage your way through it. And if you need a life raft of Weaver coming out, fine, you go to the life raft. They don't even try that. They go right to Weaver. Didn't say he struggled there, but he did surrender a home run to Jose Ramirez, who was struggling mightily up to that point. He was 3 for 23 so far in the series. So as much as you want to complain about Aaron Judge not coming through in the postseason, hey, Jose Ramirez is not a bum himself. He's a guy with 39 home runs, 40-plus stolen bases. An all-star type player. And even he wasn't doing so great so far in this series there. So it's not only Aaron Judge. A lot of superstar players go through the same thing, but nevertheless, they brought Weaver out anyway. Yes, he did surrender a home run. Fine, made the score 6-3. But again, at no point you thought that the Yankees would lose this game, and eventually Weaver able to finally lock down the final outs of the game, and the Yankees take a 2-0 series lead in this. And again, I just think it was very crucial that since now you're switching over to Cleveland there, and you have Clark Schmidt and Luis Heel lined up for next games 3 and 4, you don't know what you're going to get out of that. So the fact that you have these 2 wins in your pocket right now, great. So even if you maybe only win 1 out of 3 games next coming up in Cleveland, I'm very confident that Yankees, either Game 6 or Game 7, can win it in the Bronx. A very good chance, based on what we're seeing right now, that this could be ended in Cleveland, and that'd be great. See how their starters go the rest of the way there. But the fact that they can't get their starters out of the second or third inning, this is a really bad, ugly sign for them. And they have, yes, one of the best bullpens in baseball, but you can't keep going to it in like the second and third inning. It's just, it's impossible. You're not going to last like that. So, again, right now the Yankees is playing very well, and you kind of starved off probably Cleveland's greatest, threat in offense and push for this, in that fourth and fifth inning. And what were they able to do? They struck out with the bases loaded in the fourth inning, and the fifth inning, yes, they played it too there, but look what they had to go through. They had to really take hold to like the edge almost there, and they got a little RBI ground out to Clay Holmes there, and then after that, Holmes able to strike out the next batter to get out of the jam, and then from there, the Yankees just flourished. So a lot of good indications that very good chance the Yankees could close this out in Cleveland there. But again, let's not, go too far. And I also want to mention, too, because I didn't really mention in the last episode, as you may have saw that in Game 1, even though Rizzo, started, the game was in there, but Oswaldo Cabrera was in there in the ninth inning, playing defense at first base. And you're like, whoa, did something happen to Rizzo? Did he get hurt or something like that? So according to Rizzo, basically he went to Boone to say, look, I'm just tired out and fatigued, which kind of makes sense. Guys have played in a couple of weeks. Obviously the season's over, so there's no minor rehab starts or anything like that. So you're going to go from sitting ice cold onto the bench to being thrown into a game there. So you can understand playoffs and the emotions and stuff like that. And could he tired himself out and psyched himself out a little bit? Yeah, fine, whatever. It does make sense, and kind of, I like the fact that he realized that he didn't have it, so he went to Boone and said, look, just give me a blow for the rest of the game. I can't do this anymore. Fine. And he came back for Game 2, and again, he contributed there. Again, had a huge double. To me, that won the game. Even though it was 4-2, that won the game right there. Just because 3-2, you kind of feel, you're sweating a little bit. You're a little nervous. All you need is a bloop and a blast. You're losing the score there. But a 2-run lead is a totally different ball game, because even if the next, team gets a bloop and a blast there, at the very worst, all right, you find you're tied 4-4. So, again, just having Rizzo in there at that point, good for so many reasons. So that's the episode. The Yankees got a good lead so far in this ALCS, 2-0 there. Hopefully more good news after that. Catch you next time.